No, I just think what you tweeted me something interesting. I replied to you. I don't know if you saw it, where you're talking about, oh, how can Riker lose like this now when he was getting a push?
Yes, and that's one of your news stories about how this could happen.
Yeah, well, it's not, as I said, it's not a fact, but I would speculate that he's been off TV because he's one of those people among the high percentage of people, 30% of people in the WWE that are unvaccinated, and he's one of them. So his push has now turned into him losing to Karrion Kross, where he was having his own push. But the thing is that you can't afford to do this to other people like Sasha Banks, because Sasha Banks will happily sit at home and sit out that contract, and she'll go to the other company where they now have a desperate agenda to sign more women. So the women are in a much stronger position than the men in this company at the moment.
And one of the things you were talking about when it came to the women was something that Bianca said in the ring.
What was that? Sorry, just remind me.
About telling the truth about late notice.
Yeah. So if we move on to that story, and then we'll I want to get the merchandise story done early, so that we have enough time to cover it extensively.
Sure, we'll go right into the news after this, because I don't think anything else was noteworthy of Raw to talk about.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is a news piece in itself, but Bianca Belair did an interview this week where she turned around and said that she was working with, when she found out she was working with Becky Lynch, it was like a few hours before or the day before. I can't remember exactly when. I don't know if she's embellishing or whatever, but it was very, very close to that. Now, this is a story we've covered before over on Russo's show and over on the dirtysheets.com, where I break all my news first. But it's worth talking about again when Bianca this week has said that she genuinely only found out she was facing Becky on the day of, or very, very close to the start of SummerSlam. That was down to the situation where WWE genuinely felt that Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair was happening. When WWE were continuing to say it, obviously not until the point where they said that it's going to be on the show. Because you remember they aired the video package for it, and then the announcer said Sasha Banks is not here. At that point, you're lying to people. But there were periods throughout the week where they were not lying to people. They even had like Sasha do little bits during the week with over in, I believe she did an interview with WWE Germany, etc.
Do you think this is a case of beyond arrogance by Sasha, as in she knows the rules? This is before a big event for the company she is employed by that has promoted her. And do you think she's like, it's not like they're going to take me out of this. They can't. I've been promoted this much. They can't take me out of this. What are they going to do? And she just goes and does her stuff like, you know, my ass doesn't stink and she'll get away with this. And they're like, oh, is that right? We'll just take your ass out.
Here's the more interesting thing, and this is information that I've not even been able to get, and I've tried to find out over this last week. What is the deal with her coming back now? Because she did essentially something similar to what Ultimate Warrior did. And we're looking like, how old is that SummerSlam? 30 years ago? 30 years ago. SummerSlam 91, where he turned around to Vince and said, I'm not happy with my Mania payout. And I want my SummerSlam payout up front before. I believe that, something to that extent. And he was fired immediately afterwards. Well, this girl turned around and went, I'm not coming in because I don't like these rules, and I'm not gonna adhere to these rules. And I'll do the match. I'll turn up for SummerSlam as long as you tell me that I no longer have to stick by them. So they didn't tell her that. They replaced her. She obviously missed a load of other shows. She wasn't even going to be allowed into Madison Square Garden initially until Madison Square Garden had to adjust their rules for other unvaccinated talents at a higher level than Sasha, which of course is Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns, who's immunocompromised by his leukemia, so he can't be vaccinated anyway. To which Madison Square Garden had to make exceptions for Brock and for Roman. So I'm wondering if the exceptions have benefited Sasha, whether there's a loosening of this because the WWE turn around and go, hey, every time Brock's there, he's not going to be vaccinated, and we can't make him do. So whether it's a case of they've now given up on these policies, because I literally have the handout right here, and this was a real thing, but it's not something that's been successful. If the idea was that we are going to secure 100% vaccinations from this, or even 98% vaccinations from this, and we can release the other 2%, these 7 or 8 guys, with the way that they've been releasing people this year, down to the fact that they can release people because last year, the year 2020, every single talent essentially breached contract without reaching their minimum date quota. So the WWE now are in a position where they have a whole bunch of talent who didn't work their minimum dates last year. Therefore, a clause in the contract can be activated where contracts are lessened, renegotiated, or completely ripped up, which is what they've done with several deals, especially ones where we've seen guys not working their notice, the 90 days. But in some cases, like a Kevin Owens, for example, contracts have been renegotiated and shortened. And in some cases, we've just seen guys flat out released very, very early on. So yeah, I'm just surprised by a lot of this with her being back.